The safe was empty, only a silver metal flash drive etched "Forgive." If it were you, would you plug it in or start hunting? I felt the metal bite my palm, cold and stubborn. Incense from the memorial hung in the air, sweet then bitter. The mantel clock chopped the silence like a morgue metronome. My chest sank, heavy as wet sand. Someone had been here before me. No fingerprints, just a dare. Forgive or avenge. I slid the flash drive into my pocket. I would open it after someone bowed. I changed the locks, then checked the entry log. A few Wednesdays lit up with a code I knew by heart. I moved back the day after the funeral. The hardwood countered my steps with tired creaks. The air-mixed hospital antiseptic with oversteeped black tea. I hung my jacket and heard the rack complain. On the wall, the dialysis calendar stared. Wednesday, Saturday. 2 red cuts across my old life. The smart lock application washed my face in cold blue. Timestamps rattled past like a freight train. 1 4-digit code kept appearing on Wednesday nights. The nights I was gone the longest, I rearranged the digits and heat rose in my neck. My wife's birthday. My hand went numb, my jaw locked. Someone moved in and out like they owned the deed. No knock, no bell, just her date of birth, a suburban skeleton key. I walked the hallway and let the house speak. The fridge hummed a low board note. The thermostat clicked like a cricket in drywall. A faint citrus cleaner clung near the office door. Too careful, too recent. My gut tightened the way it did at 2 in the morning. Suspicion rose, steady as an elevator. The safe was stripped. The flash drive in my pocket sat like a verdict. The log marked Wednesday nights my window. I did not need a face yet. I needed a habit. Habits are second signatures. People almost never change them. If it were you, would you open the drive now? Or let the fish run, line tight, until it tires? I traced an old nick on the dining arch. My father made it one Thanksgiving, clumsy with a chair. That sound was sharp, human, apologetic. Today the house felt staged, calm on the surface, tense underneath, like a smile that pinches at the eyes. Justice works best in quiet rooms. I would not scream. I would listen. I would log everything. When the time came, the strong would answer to the small, cleanly, publicly, without mercy. The medical fund looked tidy at first glance. Totals matched insurance payments and hospital invoices. Then the pattern tapped my wrist like a metronome. Small withdrawals climbed weakly, neat as stair steps. The amounts seemed harmless, then turned surgically precise. Every spike landed on a Wednesday night. My longest clinic run. My softest flank. I enlarged a fixed layout electronic document until pixels bled. My electronic signature sat there, smug and perfect. The curve of the J, the clipped cross on the T. It was me, down to an old graduate school floor, but I never signed these. My ribs pressed hard against my shirt. The room tilted, slow and mean. I traced the network logs through the router at home. The commands came from inside the house. The same device fingerprint. The same late window. Whoever did this liked my chair and my network. They spent my father's money under my roof. They wore my name like a mask. I dug deeper into the file cabinet. The drawer rasped like a dry throat. A paper for a durable financial power of attorney slid out. My father's ink was steady and familiar. The other signature mirrored mine, to clean, to breathe. The notary seal pressed the paper like a boot print. The witness name hit me in the sternum. A family cousin, the former chief financial officer. He left quietly after an internal audit. A ghost with a calculator. The date matched my worst month. Long nights in the dialysis wing. Vending machine coffee, stale and thin. I pictured my desk, contracts scanned and stacked. Anyone with access could scrape my signature. The archive of the Human Resources Department. Supplier packets, old mortgage records. A patient thief does not crack safes. A patient thief mines servers. My jaw ached from clenching. I breathed through my nose, slow and counted. Anger is a loud liar. Evidence whispers and survives. I replayed the porch camera at quarter speed. Rain mist stitched silver threads under the motion light. A figure hovered at the edge, avoiding the center frame. A ring flashed once, quick and clinical. The door eased shut without a palm. The elbow nudged the handle like a practiced tick. Careful people avoid prints. Experienced people avoid habits that change. I froze the frame and studied posture. Shoulders forward, weight on the outside foot. Caution, not panic. This was not a one-off. This was routine. Routine breeds laziness. Laziness leaves crumbs. I tallied the medical payments in a fresh spreadsheet. Hospital, pharmacy, in-home nurse, all clean. Then a different vendor kept appearing. A limited liability company for legal services in a glass office park. The memo line read consulting, harmless word, ugly intent. The transfer trail smelled like my living room. Router identity, local network address. Midnight hiss from the vent above the couch. I researched the firm without making noise online. Reputation polished. Specialization discreet. They handled asset disputes, divorces, and cleanups. People hire them to make messes look like spring cleaning. My throat went dry. I swallowed metal and kept typing. If it were you, would you confront now? Or let the pipeline run until it reveals the tank? I did not call anyone. I did not text that I knew. I changed nothing I could not change back. I set quiet alerts on the accounts. I mirrored the router logs read-only and sealed. I hid a secondary camera inside a picture frame. The lens was a dot in the sailboat's shadow. I enabled detailed trails on the cloud storage and removed guest links. If they reached again, the house would cough up a name. The silver metal flash drive stayed in my pocket, heavy as a jury note. Forgive was a word carved by a dying man. Forgive does not mean forget. Forgive does not mean submit. Here, forgiveness without justice curdles into rot. The code matches my wife's birthday. The withdrawals ride Wednesday night. The signature is mine, but not mine. The witness is a disgraced chief financial officer in family clothing. The camera shows an elbow that hates fingerprints. The money bleeds toward a legal laundromat. My house keeps the receipts. If you were me, would you yank the cord now, or let the current hum until the lights blaze on? I needed proof that breathed, not screenshots. Proof that moved, paused, and looked over its shoulder. I drafted a decoy invoice. Same hospital format, same standard medical procedure codes. One extra pixel trap in the footer. A canary string hid inside a harmless file name. If someone downloaded it, the system would whisper a device name. I mirrored the home's wireless network to a sandbox network. Same name, same password, same signal strength. The real network went dark for guests. The fake one smiled and logged everything. New connections would feel at home. I would feel their pulse. I seeded a folder on the cloud drive. Medical archive, trust amendment, years and numbers. Dry, ugly, irresistible. I let the cursor hover, then walked away. The house hummed like it knew a storm was circling it. I checked the safe again. Empty velvet, a rectangle of dust. Macro scratches, curved at the lip like crescent waves. Someone fumbled once, then learned mistakes shrink when greed grows. That comforted me. Greed outruns caution in the end. I sat at my father's desk and faced the window. Late sun flattened the neighborhood into gold cardboard. A dog barked, bored and hollow. An ice cream truck chimed, cheerful and out of place. In the glass, my reflection looked older than yesterday. Grief sanded my edges, rage sharpened them back. The router chimed. A new device touched the honeyed network. Manufacturer tag, model number, version of the operating system. The decoy folder opened like a mouth. The canary tripped. The system recorded a handset name I recognized from our family plan, not hers. A line she opened for a relative with unpaid bills. My shoulders tightened. My breath steadied. The circle was closing. I replayed porch footage in a split window, the same stance at the threshold. The elbow twitch, a flash of stainless on the mailbox caught the street. In the warped reflection, a car idled 2 houses down. Dark sedan, broad grille. A sun-faded parking hangtag bled a university logo. I froze the frame. I knew that school. My father recruited interns there every spring. I checked email archives for vendor passes. The name of the chief financial officer floated up from an old list. Same school, same parking tag in a photo. Air in my lungs felt metallic, like cold pennies. Patterns were learning to speak. I opened the financial power of attorney again. The notary stamp pressed like a tattoo. The witness paneled in legalese. Revocation required notice, filed and served. Timing mattered. Move early and they pivot. Wait too long and they harvest. I measured each day like a surgeon measures blood loss. Tolerable, rising, critical. Wednesday loomed. The clinic would expect me. The house would expect them. I planned a detour. I booked my father's pickup for service near the block. Oil change as alibi, parking lot as blind. I cleaned the kitchen slowly. Sponge, rinse, repeat. I wanted the smell to settle like a stage cue. Lemon, steel, discipline. I set a legal pad on the counter. I wrote tomorrow's date in the corner, then left the page blank, a trap for the eye. Empty boxes begged to be filled. Night sifted in it. The fridge clicked. The vent breathed over the sink. I thought about her birthday glowing blue on my phone. I remembered the first time I memorized it. Colder memory now. The numbers tasted like aspirin, chalky, necessary. I did not ask why this was happening. Why softens the spine? How gets things done? How did they get the code? How did they scrape my signature? How did they drain a dying man's accounts? Each answer moved a piece on my board. I set the doorbell to silent logging. I tuned the motion zones tighter. The porch camera watched the mat, not the street. The inside camera framed the study door and the safe's corner. I loaded fresh batteries and pocketed the spent ones like casings. I slept in my father's chair, half upright. My neck burned. My lower back throbbed. Every sound stretched thin and sharp. A neighbor's garage rattled like a snare drum. A siren pulsed from the freeway. I counted breaths and let the dark pass through me. Morning cracked open, pale and impatient. I made coffee strong enough to lift bricks. The bitterness steadied my hands. I delayed the clinic and booked an evening slot. The window stayed open. The bait stayed sweet. At noon, the canary pinged again. The decoy invoice opened from the honeyed network. Downloads folder. Default name. No rename, no pause, no caution. Same handset name, same version of the operating system. Same sloppy hurry. Sloppy is merciful. I dropped the pickup for service and walked back home. Heat shimmered off asphalt. Sprinklers clicked and hissed. A mail carrier thumped a bundle into a curbside box. Normal noises, normal faces. A theft hiding inside normal. I waited in my car 2 blocks away. Air from the climate system hummed. The dash ticked as it cooled. I watched the house through a thin mirror. Minutes stacked into a wall. Dusk thickened. The porch light warmed to butter. The sedan rolled up, cautious and sure. It stopped short of the driveway, like a dog at an invisible fence. The figure approached. Same posture, same elbow. The door eased. My phone blinked to life. Entry. Study door. Motion near the safe. The inside camera caught a sleeve. A watch face. A freckle map from company picnics. I did not move. I let the minutes lengthen. The door closed on a nudge. The sedan drifted away like a thought you do not want. I walked home like nothing happened. Inside, the lemon still held the legal pad, had a new line in tight hand, an attempt to copy my slanted numbers. The first digit leaned wrong. Arrogance always forgets posture. I checked the cloud logs. The decoy trust folder opened again. Another download. The embedded token called home from a shared office building. The directory showed several firms. One matched my research, a legal services company with a polished website. I noted the suite number and the stairwell with a squeaky hinge. I set a countdown timer on my phone. 3 days to file the revocation properly. 2 days to mirror every device and lock the Honey network. 1 day to walk into a lawyer's office with a stack that bites back. I rolled the flash drive in my fingers. It flashed dull, then bright, like a small lighthouse. I was not ready to open it. Not yet. Forgiveness here would be a postscript. Justice would be the letter. I listened to my father's house breathe. Boards settled. Pipes clicked. A car idled somewhere, then faded. For a second, I felt his hand on my shoulder, heavy, cool, demanding the shape of a spine. If you were me, would you serve papers now? Or wait one more Wednesday and watch the mask fall in daylight? I sharpened a pencil and wrote a list. Freeze the financial power of attorney, subpoena the cameras at the shared office building, pull the cameras of the homeowners association on our street, notify the bank fraud unit quietly, meet a litigator who hates bullies. I underlined the last line twice. I turned off the lamps one by one. The house darkened in soft steps. At the study door, I looked back at the safe. Empty, never looked so full of teeth. I woke to the hum of the fridge and the ache in my neck. The house felt watchful. I brewed coffee strong enough to scald doubt. The bitterness left the edge. I filed the revocation first. Printed, notarized, time-stamped. The paper felt heavier than its weight. I scanned it twice and uploaded a read-only copy to a secure vault. The bank flagged the power of attorney as dead. Harvest season ended without notice. I requested camera pulls from the Homeowners Association. Corners, mailbox rows, exit sight lines. I filed a preservation letter to the shared office building. The custodian of records would feel my breath on their neck. No yelling, just paperwork with teeth. I booked a meeting with a litigator who smiled like granite. I carried a file that smelled like toner and rain. We talked in rectangles. Facts, law, strategy. My throat stayed dry, my hands steady on edges. Year of trails. Month of device identities. Week of Wednesday nights. The plan hardened into clean steps. I left with service packets ready, an order template, subpoena drafts, a process server on call. Back home, the Honey network pulsed in quiet beats. The handset touched, then vanished. A cautious animal sniffing a trap. Not yet, not before Wednesday. I ate standing up at the sink, toast gone hard, coffee gone cold. The backyard fence threw a thin shadow across the grass. A squirrel darted and froze. I felt like the squirrel and the hawk at once. I pulled corporate filings for the former chief financial officer, a new limited liability company. Vague purpose. Recent date, mailing address to suites down from the legal services firm. I remembered the floor plan, hallway, glass door, stairs with a stubborn hinge. At dusk, I drove by the building, lights stacked in rectangles. A guard watched muted news. The stairwell door shivered when it closed. The hinge squealed like a question. Morning came pale and ordinary. The pickup waited on the street like a prop. I wore clothes that did not remember me. Neutral shoes. A hat that broke my silhouette. Process packets crossed my chest like paper armor. Midday, the canary tripped again. The decoy invoice opened. A window appeared, then dimmed. A second ping followed from the office park. Same floor, same suite. Hunger ebbed, focus thickened. I filed for a temporary order at the courthouse. The stamp hit like a gavel in a small room. Outside, the sun burned everything flat. My father used to work in heat like this. Dust in the teeth, sweat at the collar. He built things that stayed built. I parked near the office park and waited. The process server circled the block and held. We signaled by silence. The handset appeared. The Honey Network noted a new login. The Decoy Trust folder opened, then final amendments. The token called home from a tablet this time. Same family of devices. Same careless rhythm. I entered the stairwell. The hinge complained, long and petty. I held the door until it quieted, then climbed. On the suite floor, I kept a camera in my peripheral. Glass doors reflected shapes without faces. A figure crossed. Watch face bright. The freckle constellation on the wrist matched my stills. The handle turned. The elbow stayed high to old habits. Same signature. I sent one word to the server. Now, he moved like he was late to lunch. Casual, friendly wait. He called a name from the filings. The figure turned and stopped. Papers met hands. A pen appeared. A signature went down that would regret itself later. The server thanked air and left. The hinge announced him home. I did not look in. I did not break the line. I drifted back to the car and shut the door on the heat. Back at the house, the porch camera caught a slow drive-by. The sedan lingered, then rolled on. The handset begged the network once. Access denied. Guest accounts gone. A quiet snap across an invisible fence. I placed a fresh blank page inside the safe. I wanted them to see the future they would not write. The litigator called. The order was signed. Service confirmed. The shared office building preserved the footage. The bank flagged to transfers for reversal. The wall moved inward by inches. Night brought the Wednesday window closer. I prepped the clinic cover and the cameras, batteries charged, cards labeled. My father's pocketknife sat like a promise kept. At midnight, the neighborhood thinned 2 bones. Street lights buzzed. A moth battered the porch globe. The air smelled like cut grass and hot brake pads. I counted breaths and sharpened patience. Dawn bled up behind roofs. I left by the back gate and circled the block. The clinic accepted my check-in. The house accepted my trap. The handset appeared. The network saw it. The porch camera blinked awake. The study camera breathed. Motion ticked. Door, hall, safe, corner. The freckled wrist crossed the frame. The watch face pulsed like a small moon. I turned the corner back to the house. Streets lay quiet, like a throat waiting for a word. Sprinklers stitched the lawn with cold needles. My shoes drank water and gave nothing back. The front door stood closed. A hinge whispered inside. A shape moved in the study. Slow, certain routine sure of itself. I put my hand on the knob and listened to my blood. It sounded like a train entering a tunnel. I let the camera finish the confession. The study air moved in lemon over dust. The figure bent at the safe. The watch brightened, then dulled. A phone rested on folders. The decoy invoice glowed like bait in deep water. I recorded the screen from my pocket. Redundancy is mercy later. The study camera captured the wrist ring and freckles. The router log captured the device name. The house captured time to the second. Proof that breathed, proof that moved. A drawer slid, papers shuffled, then stopped. The blank sheet lay on top like new snow. A pen hovered and retreated. Fear pushed against greed. Greed leaned back. Footsteps turned. I stepped into the kitchen and let the fridge hum cover me. The figure paused, then exited. The door whispered shut on a practiced push. The lock caught with a resigned click. I waited 2 minutes. Then I checked the safe. The air felt warm where a body had been. The trap worked. The story wrote itself. I saved the video to 2 drives and labeled them clearly. One under the cutlery tray, one inside a book on my father's shelf. Old spine, honest noise. The building custodian confirmed the footage hold. The litigator confirmed the uploads. The bank confirmed a pending reversal review. The wall moved again, steady and slow. I watched the footage once, then closed it. I did not need the surge. I needed clear hands and a colder spine. I drove to the office park and watched the routine. Same slot, same angle. The messenger bag bulged like a mouth that chewed too much. I showered until the water cooled. Steam smelled like metal and soap. The mirror fogged, then cleared. A face I could live with if I did this right. I built a red folder. The financial power of attorney. Router logs. Camera stills. Device captures. Angles from the Homeowners Association. License plate reads. The order on top, like a lid. I photographed an old company picture. A campus fair with the chief financial officer's lanyard. Same wrist, same watch. Same patience. Stories need roots and rings. The courtroom smelled like paper and air conditioning. The judge read quickly and listened slowly. I testified to the chain of custody.com, plain. Short sentences, router fingerprints. Device identities. Camera angles. The watch glared from a still. The elbow floated over the handle like a tell. The freckle map defined a wrist better than a name. The order extended with firm language. More accounts froze. The stamp clapped down, final and bored. Relief arrived without applause. I waited one more Wednesday. Patience tasted like copper and grit. The house held its breath with me. The process server reached my wife's address at first light. Proof of service came as a clean digital copy. Time, location, a note about a gate code never changed. Gates keep out strangers. Gates wave in the familiar. I filed the civil complaint before breakfast. Conversion. Fraud. Breach of duty. The packet read like a brick with corners. I attached exhibits without poetry, stills, logs, bank patterns, the order, the notary page with the old name. Evidence needs daylight, not adjectives. The shared office building produced hallway footage. We clipped frames where the wrist met the door. The time stomp matched the Honey Network ping to the second. The hinge cried like a confession. The watch face flared like a flare. We marked every click with a silent red dot. Red dots multiply fast in a judge's head. Bank counsel called and spoke in transcript language. They would reverse two pools and sequester a third. The target account froze like a pond in February. Someone would jab the ice and find glass. The cameras of the Homeowners Association caught the sedan. The license plate shone clear in a sunbeam. A plate reader confirmed the loop. Same route, same times. People who practice crimes as routines forget to improvise. The legal services firm tried to quash the preservation letter. They argued burden and privacy. We answered with timelines and device identities. Burden looked smaller once the seconds lined up. The evening clinic slot ran on time. Beeping pumps sounded like a heartbeat I could control. Money stolen from care is a special kind of theft. It shaves dignity first. It shaves years second. We sent discovery requests that asked small and tight device imaging, internal email pulls, access logs for the suite, calendar entries on Wednesdays only. They offered to preserve devices under an independent examiner. Fear cools sentences. We accepted with sharper terms and closer deadlines. The examiner confirmed custody of the devices. Seals unbroken. Logs secured. I set my coffee down and picked up the flash drive. I plugged it into a clean, offline laptop. The port accepted it with a small mechanical click. A folder appeared with a single file. The title used my name and a date I knew at once. The day my father watched me defend my thesis. He called it my second graduation. It asked for a passphrase. I typed the date and pressed enter. A video thumbnail opened. My father sat at his desk in a good shirt, hands folded, jaw set, eyes like mine when I stopped pretending. I waited for stillness. Lemon, paper, old wood, rain finishing on the gutters. Then I clicked. His voice carried the weight of measured work. He spoke about numbers drifting in small, repeatable ways. He set anchors in places no one looked. A trust with teeth. A clause that woke when funds moved under shadows. A camera that watched a forgotten door. Patience wired into paper. He laid out a map. Noise would cost focus and invite more theft. Silence with a clock would let the system carry weight. He had arranged counsel I could trust. Names and numbers sealed in a second file. Keep receipts, not anger. Love is not softness. Love is spine. The screen went black and showed my reflection. Older, harder, steadier. The second file held contacts and a trusty addendum. If fraud touched the medical or charity funds, the trust pivoted. Temporary control would pass to me for cleanup. Final control would hinge on restitution and proof of good faith. A reverse gate, not a gift. A test. The examiner's first report landed that afternoon. The decoy invoice was downloaded twice and opened 3 times. It was forwarded once. Screens of my study lived in a hidden weekday folder. The Wednesday tab linked dates to those images. Contempt dressed in math. The district attorney's office scheduled interviews. The custodian, the contractor, a bank analyst. Domino stopped pretending to be a straight table. Settlement talks restarted with less pose and more math. Full restitution into escrow with verification triggers. Fees covered, monitoring accepted. Device surrender, certification under penalty. No warmth, no venom. Just terms. The former chief financial officer signed first. His wrist looked smaller without the watch. My wife, through counsel, accepted the parts that touched her. We negotiated custody like adults with a blueprint. Supervised transitions. Calendars that respect school and sleep. Documentation that holds shape. The judge approved the framework with a polite tap. Civil moved. Criminal watched from uphill. The trust pivoted per my father's clause. Control settled into my hands like a tool, not a trophy. Numbers stopped bleeding. Relief arrived quiet and durable. We met the scholarship committee at the office. Coffee and floor wax filled the room. Names from streets I knew. Essays without wasted words. We approved more awards than last year. We added a dialysis travel stipend in my father's name. The former chief financial officer resigned from 3 boards. A press note used neutral words about time with family. The legal services firm filed cooperation and withdrew to motions. I could still hear the stairwell hinge squeal in my head. A 3rd file waited on the flash drive. A short letter about forgiveness. It did not let anyone off the hook. Forgiveness is not erasing debt. It is ending the transaction after justice clears. It refuses to pay interest to anger. The district attorney proposed a plea for the former chief financial officer. Restitution, probation, professional surrender, community service in numbers. A sentence built from tools he once misused. My wife's case stayed civil. The agreement held. She followed the calendar and showed up on time. I documented without venom. The children adjusted in small, honest steps. We kept adult problems away from small ears. I visited the university where my father recruited. Aluminum bats rang like tuning forks. The bleachers smelled like sun and old soda. I let that sound soak into old cells. I felt the shape of a life that could breathe again. At home, oil hissed and garlic sweetened it. The house smelled like simple hunger and finished work. I left a chair empty without wincing. When the escrow cleared, I signed a release with clear edges. It did not erase history. It marked an end. The trust confirmed control with a plain sentence. I filed it by year and shut the drawer. I placed the flash drive in the safe. Not as a secret, as an archive, a tool used, a door closed. I looked at my father's photo and felt two pulls. Grief, steady and real. Pride, smaller and sharp. The house creaked and settled like a body ending a long day. Outside, a sprinkler stitched water across tired grass. If you ask whether revenge arrived, it did. It arrived as records and orders and checks that moved right. It arrived without shouting. It arrived under fluorescent light, beside timestamps and names. I rinsed the pan and let it dry on the rack. I turned off lights in a slow path. At the study door, I listened. The house breathed. So did I. Justice first, then forgiveness. I kept the order. I kept my father's hands in memory, steady and sure, and I slept through the night for the first time in months. I stood in the quiet house and let the day settle. The air felt clean. The ledger felt honest. My chest finally matched the rhythm of the clock. I kept the rule that saved me. Justice first, then forgiveness. Not the loud kind, the durable kind. If you were here, I would ask one thing. What would you have done first? Open the drive or set the trap? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your playbook. Have you ever spotted a tiny pattern that changed everything? A charge off by sense? A door that never quite clicked? Share your moment below. Your story might help someone breathe. If you believe underdogs deserve clean wins, say so. Type justice first in the comments. So I see you. If you believe forgiveness matters after the book's balance, type forgiveness after justice. I will look for both. What detail hit you hardest? The elbow on the knob, the wrist with freckles, the Wednesday math dressed like care. Drop the one detail you will not forget. I am reading every line. If you are carrying a quiet fight right now, you are not alone. Take notes, save logs, choose patience with a clock, then come back and tell me how it ends. I will keep telling stories until the loud lose their echo. If you want more underdog justice, stay with me. Follow and share this with someone who needs a spine today. Now it is your turn. What is the one move you would make next? Comment it. I am listening.